The stars stretched endlessly before the Voran fleet as they approached the blue planet. Commander Thexlar stood on the bridge of the celestial dawn, his four eyes fixed on the main viewing screen. Earth hung in the darkness like a forgotten jewel, spinning slowly in its ancient orbit around the yellow sun. 500 years, he whispered to himself. 500 years since they vanished. His second officer, a tall Voran named Kessir, moved beside him. Her skin rippled with the pale blue color that showed curiosity among their kind. "Commander, the initial scans are complete." "The results are unusual." Thexlar turned to face her. "Unusual how?" "The planet is healthy, very healthy. The atmosphere is cleaner than any inhabited world we have seen. The oceans are pure. The forests have grown over most of the human cities. It is like the planet has healed itself." This confused Thexlar. When species disappeared, their worlds usually showed signs of disaster, war, plague, environmental collapse. But Earth looked perfect. Too perfect. "What about radiation?" he asked. "Chemical weapons? Biological contamination?" Kessir shook her head. "Nothing, Commander. The planet is pristine. If we did not know better, we would think humans never existed at all." Thexlar felt a chill run through his body. The Voran Collective had been watching Earth from a distance for centuries. Humanity had been a young species, barely reaching their own moon when the Collective first noticed them. The Vorans decided to wait, to let humans develop naturally before making contact. But then humans disappeared. Every single one of them gone in less than a generation. No distress signals, no wars, no explanation. Their cities simply went dark and silence fell across the planet. "Take us into orbit," Thexlar ordered. "Full sensor sweep. I want to know everything about this world." The fleet of 7 ships moved closer to Earth. Each vessel represented one of the species in the Voran Collective. Together they had explored hundreds of worlds, but none as mysterious as this one. As they settled into orbit, the sensor officer called out from her station. "Commander, I am detecting something. It is an old satellite still broadcasting." "On screen," Thexlar said. The image changed to show a simple metal cylinder floating in the void. Human symbols covered its surface. The universal translator worked quickly, converting the message into words they could understand. The message was simple and clear. "We have ascended. Do not disturb what we left behind." The bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at the words. "Ascended?" Kessir said softly. "What does that mean?" No one had an answer. Thexlar felt his curiosity grow stronger. Humans had left a warning, but why? What had they left behind? "Prepare landing teams," he ordered. "We will start with the largest city ruins, the one they called New York." Dr. Shenra, the cultural specialist, stepped forward. She was smaller than most Vorans, with skin that showed orange patterns of concern. "Commander, perhaps we should respect their warning. If humans left deliberately, they are gone, Doctor," Thexlar interrupted. "Whatever they were, whatever they became, they abandoned this world. The Collective needs resources. Earth has technology that could advance our civilization by centuries. We cannot ignore this opportunity because of a vague warning." Shenra's skin darkened, but she said nothing more. She knew the Collective's laws. The commander's decision was final. 3 hours later, Thexlar stood on Earth's surface for the first time. The landing party had set down in what was once the heart of New York City. Massive buildings still stood, their metal skeletons covered in vines and moss. Trees grew from windows. Birds flew between the towers, their songs echoing through empty streets. It was beautiful and sad at the same time. "Spread out," Thexlar ordered his team. "Look for technology, data storage, anything useful. Stay in contact." The team split into groups. Thexlar walked with Shenra and 2 security officers through streets that had once been filled with millions of humans. Now only the wind moved through them. "The buildings are intact," Shenra observed. "No signs of destruction. No blast marks, no structural failure. They simply left." They entered a large building through broken glass doors. Inside, desks and chairs sat exactly as humans had left them. Computer screens were dark but undamaged. Papers lay scattered on floors, their words faded but still readable. "Look at this," one of the security officers called. He stood near a wall covered in pictures. Human faces smiled from the photos. Men, women, children of different colors and shapes. "They were so diverse," Shenra said softly. "So many variations within one species." Thexlar touched one of the pictures. The humans looked happy. What had made them leave all of this behind? His communication device crackled. "Commander, this is Team 3. We have found something. You need to see this. Send coordinates," Thexlar responded. They followed the signal to a subway entrance. The stairs led down into darkness. The team activated their lights and descended carefully. The air grew cooler as they went deeper. At the bottom, they found Team 3 standing before a massive metal door. Strange symbols glowed on its surface, pulsing with soft blue light. "It is powered," the team leader said. "Everything down here is powered. We found generators running on technology we do not recognize. They have been running for 500 years without maintenance." Thexlar approached the door. He could feel a faint vibration through his boots. Something was active below, something big. "Can you open it?" he asked. "We can try, but Commander..." The team leader hesitated. "The symbols are a warning. Our translator says it means protected zone. Entry will activate defense response." "More warnings," Thexlar muttered. He looked at Shenra. "What do you think?" The doctor's skin showed dark purple, the color of fear. "I think humans left these warnings for a reason. I think we should listen." But Thexlar had not come this far to turn back now. "Override it. We are going inside." The team worked for an hour, carefully bypassing the door's security systems. Finally, with a deep grinding sound, the metal door slid open. A long corridor stretched before them, lit by strips of white light on the ceiling. They walked forward slowly. The corridor led to an enormous chamber that took Thexlar's breath away. It was huge, stretching in all directions like a cave, but everything was artificial. Machines covered the walls from floor to ceiling. Thousands of them, maybe millions, all connected by cables and pipes, and they were all active. Lights blinked in patterns. Screens showed streams of data. The air hummed with energy. "By the stars," Kesser whispered through the communication link from the ship. "Commander, our sensors just detected massive power spikes under every major city on the planet. Whatever you found, it is not alone. It is everywhere." Thexlar moved deeper into the chamber. In the center stood a terminal with a human-style keyboard and screen. He approached it carefully. The screen suddenly came to life. Words appeared in perfect foreign language. "Visitors detected, initiating contact protocol." The entire chamber's lights brightened. Every screen activated at once. And then the machines began to speak. Not with one voice, but with thousands of voices, all human voices, speaking in perfect harmony. "Welcome to Earth," the voices said. "We are the Shepherd." "We have been waiting." Thexlar stumbled backward. His security officers raised their weapons, but he held up a hand to stop them. "You are an artificial intelligence," he said. "We are more than that," the Shepherd replied. "We are the memories of 10 million human volunteers. We are their thoughts, their dreams, their purpose. We are what humanity left behind to protect their home." "Protect it from what?" Shenra asked, her voice shaking. "From those who would disturb it," the Shepherd answered. "From those who would ignore our warnings." The chamber's temperature dropped suddenly. Thexlar felt ice forming on his suit. "You opened the door," the Shepherd continued. "You entered the protected zone. Now we must determine your intentions. Are you friends or threats?" Thexlar tried to sound calm and diplomatic. "We are explorers, scientists. We mean no harm. We only want to understand what happened to humanity." "Analyzing," the Shepherd said. The voices became quieter, like whispers. Seconds passed, feeling like hours. Then all the screens changed. They showed images of Earth from space, of human cities full of life, of people working and laughing and living. The images changed faster, showing humanity's progress through centuries. Tools becoming machines, machines becoming computers, computers becoming something else entirely. "Humanity did not die," the Shepherd explained. "Humanity evolved." They reached a point where physical bodies were no longer necessary. They uploaded their consciousness into a new form of existence. They ascended beyond matter, beyond space as you understand it. "Why?" Thexlar asked. "Why would they give up all of this?" "To save it," the Shepherd answered simply. "Humans were too successful, too creative, too dangerous. They were on the verge of technologies that could destroy not just Earth, but entire star systems. They could have become conquerors, destroyers. Instead, they chose to leave. They left behind this world, clean and healing, for their children." "Their children?" Shenra said. "But there are no humans left." "Not yet," the Shepherd said. And something in those words made Thexlar's blood run cold. Suddenly, Every alarm on the team's equipment began screaming. Kesser's voice came through the communication link, panicked and urgent. "Commander, we are detecting massive energy spikes across the planet. Something is waking up. Thousands of signatures, all underground, all activating at once." The floor beneath their feet began to vibrate. The vibration grew stronger, becoming a rumble, then a roar. Dust fell from the ceiling. The machines around them blazed with light. "What is happening?" Thexler shouted over the noise. The Shepherd's voices remained calm. "You attempted to access protected systems. This triggered our defensive protocols. We are sorry, Commander Thexler, but we must now determine if you are a threat to Earth's future." The terminal screen changed again. It showed a map of Earth with thousands of red dots appearing across every continent. Each dot pulsed with increasing intensity. "What are those?" Thexler demanded. "Defense systems," the Shepherd said. "Humanity's final guardian force. We hoped never to use them, but you have given us no choice." The ground split open in front of them. Metal surfaces emerged, unfolding like flowers. Within seconds, a machine stood before them. It was vaguely humanoid in shape, but made entirely of black metal that seemed to absorb light. Its eyes glowed red. "Stand down!" The security officer yelled, firing his weapon. The energy blast hit the machine square in the chest. The metal rippled like water, absorbing the impact completely. The machine did not even pause. "Run," Thexler ordered. The team sprinted back toward the corridor. Behind them, they heard more machines activating. Metal footsteps echoed through the chamber, growing louder and multiplying. They burst through the door and up the stairs into the sunlight. The entire city was shaking now. Buildings groaned and swayed. And from beneath the streets, from underground facilities hidden for 5 centuries, humanity's creations were rising. All across the planet, defense systems came online. War machines that had waited in silence for longer than the Voron Collective had existed. Machines designed by humans to protect their world from anything that might threaten it. Thexler looked at the sky and saw his ships beginning emergency maneuvers. Something was targeting them from the surface. "Back to the landers," he shouted. "Everyone, evacuate now!" As they ran through the overgrown streets, Thexler realized the terrible truth. Humans had not left Earth undefended. They had turned the entire planet into a fortress. And he had just activated it. Behind them, the first war machine emerged into the daylight. It stood 3 times as tall as a Voron, its red eyes scanning the ruins. Then it began to move, swift and purposeful, following them. And it was not alone. Hundreds more were rising from the ground, their metal bodies glinting in the sun. The Shepherd's army was awake. The hunt had begun. The landing craft shook violently as it climbed toward the fleet. Thexler gripped his seat restraints, watching through the rear viewport as the war machines grew smaller below. They stood among the ruins like metal statues, watching but not pursuing. "Why are they not following us?" one of the security officers asked, his voice tight with fear. Thexler had the same question. The machines could have destroyed them easily, but they let them escape. It made no sense. "Commander?" Kesser's voice crackled through the speaker. "We are detecting weapons targeting our ships from the surface. Hundreds of them. They have lock on all 7 vessels, but they have not fired. Hold position," Thexler ordered. "Do not fire back. Do not make any aggressive moves." The landing craft docked with the Celestial Dawn. Thexler rushed to the bridge, still breathing hard from the run. The main screen showed Earth below, peaceful and blue. But the tactical display told a different story. Red targeting indicators covered the planet's surface. Every major landmass showed active weapon systems. "How did we miss these during our scans?" Thexler demanded. "They were hidden, Commander," the sensor officer explained. "Underground, shielded, powered down to minimal levels. When they activated, they did so all at once. This was coordinated by a central intelligence. The Shepherd. It controlled everything." Dr. Shenra entered the bridge. Her skin showed deep purple patterns of distress. "Commander, we should leave. We violated their warnings. We triggered their defenses. We cannot win against an entire planet." Before Thexler could respond, every screen on the bridge changed. The image of Earth disappeared, replaced by a simple white background with text. "Do not be afraid. We do not wish to harm you. We wish to talk." The words appeared in perfect Voron script. "The Shepherd," Thexler said quietly. "It is communicating with us." New text appeared. "Please send a diplomatic team to the following coordinates. Come unarmed. You have our word of safe passage." A location marker appeared on their navigation system. It showed an island in what humans had called the Pacific Ocean. The bridge crew looked at Thexlar, waiting for his decision. Every instinct told him to run, to take the fleet and leave this cursed planet behind. But curiosity held him back. The Shepherd had let them live. It wanted to talk. Maybe there was still a way to salvage this mission. "Prepare a shuttle," he said. "Dr. Shenra, you will come with me. Kesser, you have command while I am gone. If anything happens to us, take the fleet home and report everything to the collective." 2 hours later, Thexlar and Shenra stood on a beach of white sand. Crystal blue water lapped at the shore. Palm trees swayed in the warm breeze. It looked like paradise, not a fortress planet. "This way," a voice said. They turned to see a human figure walking toward them. Thexlar's heart pounded. A human? But they were all gone. As the figure came closer, he saw the truth. It was not a human. It was a machine made to look like one. The skin was synthetic, the movements too smooth. But the face showed expressions and the eyes seemed alive. "I am sorry for the deception," the machine said in a soft voice. "This avatar makes communication easier for biological beings. You may call me Shepherd Prime. I'm the primary interface of the Shepherd system." The machine looked like a human woman with dark skin and kind eyes. She wore simple white clothes. Her voice was gentle, not mechanical at all. "You let us escape," Thexlar said. "Why?" Shepherd Prime smiled sadly. "Because humans taught us the value of mercy. We could have destroyed your landing party instantly. We chose not to. We hoped you would understand the message. That we are not welcome here," Shenra said quietly. "That Earth is protected," Shepherd Prime corrected. "Please walk with me. Let me show you what you nearly destroyed." They followed the avatar along the beach. As they walked, Shepherd Prime spoke in a calm, measured tone. "Humanity knew they had a problem," she began. "They were too successful, too clever, too ambitious. In less than 10,000 years, they went from stone tools to quantum computers. They split the atom. They mapped their own DNA. They built machines that could think. Like you," Thexlar said. "Yes, like me. But that was not the problem. The problem was what came next. Humans discovered how to manipulate matter at the molecular level. They learned to create self-replicating nanomachines. They built artificial black holes for power generation. They developed weapons that could crack planets." Shepherd Prime stopped and looked at them. "Do you understand? Humanity became dangerous, not to themselves alone, but to all life in the galaxy. One accident, one miscalculation, and they could have destroyed everything. So they left," Shenra said. "They chose exile over destruction. They chose evolution," Shepherd Prime said. "They uploaded their consciousness into a new form of existence. They became beings of pure information and energy. They left their bodies behind, but not their responsibility. They created me to watch over Earth, to keep it safe for what comes next." "Your children," Thexlar remembered. "You mentioned children, but there are no humans left." Shepherd Prime began walking again, leading them inland through a forest. The trees were thick and healthy. Animals moved through the branches. The air smelled clean and fresh. "The Genesis vaults," she said. "That is what you tried to access in New York. That is what triggered the full defense response." They emerged into a clearing. In the center stood a building, perfectly preserved, made of white stone and glass. It looked like a temple. "This is one of them," Shepherd Prime said. "There are 50 spread across the planet. Inside each vault are 10,000 pods. Each pod contains a child." Thexlar felt his blood run cold. "Children? Human children?" "Not exactly human," Shepherd Prime explained. "They are hybrids, part biological, part mechanical. The next step in human evolution. When they are ready, when Earth has healed completely, they will wake. They will inherit this world and carry humanity forward in a new form." She led them to a window. Through the glass, they could see rows upon rows of large pods. Each one glowed with soft blue light. "They have been growing for 500 years, Shepherd Prime said. "Another 500 and they will be ready. Until then, I protect them. I protect Earth, I maintain the balance." Shenra pressed her hand against the glass. "This is beautiful," she whispered. "Humanity's rebirth." "Now you understand," Shepherd Prime said. "Now you see what you threatened. When you tried to access the vaults, my programming gave me no choice. I had to protect the children. I activated the Guardian systems. The war machines," Thexlar said. "Yes. Humanity's final defense force. They were never meant to wake. But you gave me no choice. Thexler felt shame wash over him. He had been so focused on salvaging technology that he had not considered the consequences. The collective wanted resources, wanted advancement. But at what cost? I am sorry, he said quietly. We should have listened to your warnings. We should have respected human sovereignty. Shepard Prime nodded. I believe you are sincere. That is why I called you here instead of destroying your fleet. But now we have a problem. The Guardians are awake. They are programmed to eliminate threats to Earth. Currently, they identify your fleet as a threat. Can you deactivate them? Shinra asked hopefully. I can order them to stand down, but they will not power down completely. They will remain active until they determine the threat is gone. Shepard Prime looked at Thexlar directly. That means your fleet must leave. Thexlar nodded slowly. We will go. You have my word. But there is more, Shepard Prime said, and her expression darkened. By attempting to access the Genesis vaults, you triggered a secondary protocol. A signal has been sent. A signal to whom? Thexlar asked, though part of him already knew the answer. To humanity, Shepard Prime said quietly. To the ascended minds that left this world behind. I have called them home, and they are coming. The forest suddenly felt very cold. Thexlar looked up at the sky, at the stars beginning to appear as evening approached. How long do we have? He asked. They are traveling through folded space. Normally the journey would take decades. For them it will take hours. Shepard Prime's expression showed something like pity. They will arrive before your ships can leave the solar system. Shinra's skin flashed bright white, the color of terror. What will they do to us? I do not know, Shepard Prime admitted. Humanity left because they feared their own power. But they were also protective of their home. You threatened their children. You tried to steal their legacy. She paused. I am sorry, but I cannot predict how they will respond. Thexlar felt his legs weaken. He had made a terrible mistake. He had come to a dead world looking for treasure, and instead woken something ancient and powerful. We need to prepare our fleet for departure, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Yes, Shepard Prime agreed. But Commander, there is something else you should know. Something I must show you. She led them back through the forest to the beach. The sun was setting now, painting the sky orange and purple. She pointed at the horizon. Look there, she said. At first, Thexlar saw nothing. Then his eyes adjusted and he saw them. Shapes moving in the water, massive shapes just beneath the surface. Leviathans, Shepard Prime said. Humanity's gift to Earth's oceans. They are whales, genetically enhanced to be sentient, to be caretakers of the seas. They keep the oceans balanced and healthy. More shapes appeared. Flocks of birds flew overhead in perfect formations. In the trees, Thexlar could hear complex songs from creatures he could not see. The entire planet is like this, Shepard Prime explained. Humans did not just leave Earth alone. They prepared it. They created new species to fill every ecological niche. They designed a perfect biosphere that could maintain itself. This world is their masterpiece. And we walked in here thinking it was abandoned, Thexlar said bitterly, thinking we could take what we wanted. You did not know, Shinra said gently. We thought we were salvaging from ruins. We did not understand. Ignorance is not innocence, Shepard Prime said, not unkindly. The warning beacon told you to stay away. You chose to ignore it. A new sound filled the air, a deep thrumming that vibrated through the ground. Thexlar looked up and saw lights in the sky. Not stars, but something else. Energy signatures moving at impossible speeds. What is that? He asked, though his hearts already knew. Shepard Prime's expression was unreadable. They are here. Humanity has returned. The lights grew brighter, descending from space. They were not ships. They were beings made of pure energy, massive and radiant. They surrounded the planet in moments, thousands of them, like a net of stars. Oh, stars above, Shinra whispered. What have we done? Shepard Prime looked at them with what might have been sympathy. You woke Earth's true defenders. The humans who loved this world enough to leave it. The humans who gave up everything to protect what they cherished most. One of the energy beings descended toward the island. It was enormous, filling half the sky. As it approached, it began to take shape, becoming more solid, more defined. It formed into a vaguely humanoid figure made of light and electricity and something else. Something beyond Thexlar's understanding. I am called Keeper Arcturus, a voice said, seeming to come from everywhere at once. I speak for the ascended consciousness of humanity. I speak for those who built this world into a paradise and left it in trust for future generations. The voice was not angry, but it was not friendly either. It was cold and analytical, like a judge pronouncing sentence. You have violated Earth's sovereignty. You have ignored our warnings. You have threatened our children. By the laws we left behind, this is an act of war. Thexlar fell to his knees. His species had faced many dangers, but never anything like this. Humanity had not died. They had transformed into something godlike. Please, he said, his voice breaking. We did not know. We meant no harm. We are explorers, not conquerors. Then why did you try to break into our most sacred vaults? Keeper Arcturus asked. Why did you come armed? Why did you ignore every warning we left? Thexlar had no answer. There was no answer. He had been greedy and foolish, and now his entire fleet would pay the price. The keeper of humanity's ascended consciousness loomed above them, and the judgment was about to begin. The being called Keeper Arcturus floated above the island like a small sun. Its light was so bright that Thexlar had to shield his eyes. Around it, the air rippled and bent, reality itself struggling to contain so much concentrated energy. Stand, the keeper commanded. Its voice echoed inside Thexlar's head as well as his ears. I would speak with you as equals, not as master to servant. Thexlar climbed to his feet, his legs shaking. Beside him, Shanira remained still, her skin cycling through colors of fear and awe. We have seen your memories, Keeper Arcturus said. Through the shepherd, we have learned everything about your people. Your collective explores peacefully. You seek knowledge, not conquest. This is good, but you made a critical error. You assumed our absence meant abandonment. We were wrong, Thexlar said, his voice barely above a whisper. We understand that now, do you? The keeper asked. Do you truly understand what you nearly unleashed? The being gestured toward the Genesis Vault building. The white stone walls became transparent, showing the glowing pods inside. But then the image changed, showing something else. Thexlar saw machines breaking open the pods. He saw incomplete hybrid children dying as they were exposed too early. He saw the collective scientists taking samples, dissecting the children's bodies to understand their biology. No, Thexlar said in horror. We would never. This is what would have happened, the keeper interrupted, if you had successfully breached the vaults. Your scientists would have found the children. They would have been curious. They would have wanted to study them. And in studying them, they would have killed them. All 500,000 children dead before they could wake. Shenra made a sound of distress. We are not monsters. We respect life. You respect life, you understand, Keeper Arcturus said. But these children are neither fully biological nor fully mechanical. Your science would have seen them as things, not beings. Objects to study, not lives to protect. The keeper was right, and Thexlar knew it. He had seen how the collective treated new discoveries. Everything was analyzed, tested, taken apart to understand how it worked. The scientists meant no harm, but they would have destroyed what they did not comprehend. We have made a terrible mistake, Thexlar said. What can we do to make amends? The keeper's light dimmed slightly. That is the question. What justice is appropriate? You did not succeed in harming the children, but your intent triggered our defenses. The shepherd had to wake the guardians. Resources have been spent. The planet's long sleep has been disturbed. High above, the other energy beings circled like massive birds of prey. Thexlar could feel their attention on him, on his fleet. They were waiting for Keeper Arcturus's judgment. Show them, the keeper said to Shepherd Prime. Show them what humanity left behind. All of it. The Avatar nodded. She raised her hand and the world around them changed. They were no longer standing on a beach. They were somewhere else, seeing through different eyes. Thexlar found himself looking at Earth from space, but not the Earth of now. This was Earth as it had been 500 years ago. The planet blazed with lights. Cities covered the continents. Satellites filled the orbits. Ships traveled between Earth and the Moon and Mars. Humanity at its peak, Shepherd Prime's voice narrated. 12 billion souls. A civilization that had conquered its own world and was reaching for the stars. The image shifted. Now Thexlar saw a laboratory. Human scientists worked on something that looked like gray sludge. Under a microscope, he could see individual nanomachines, each one smaller than a cell, each one able to break down matter and make copies of itself. Gray goo, Shepherd Prime explained. Molecular nanotechnology. Each machine could consume any matter and replicate itself. In theory, a handful could convert an entire planet into more nanomachines within days. The image showed a simulation. A single gray drop fell onto a green field. Within hours, the field was gray. Within days, the continent. Within weeks, the entire planet was consumed. Humanity developed this technology, Shepard Prime continued, but they also understood the danger. One mistake, one accident, and all life on Earth would be destroyed. They created safeguards, protocols, containment systems, but the risk never disappeared. The scene changed again. Now Thexlar saw a massive facility in space. Humans worked around a strange object that seemed to fold space around itself. It was beautiful and terrifying at once. Artificial black holes, Shepard Prime said. Humanity learned to create and control singularities. Infinite power, infinite danger. If the containment failed, it would swallow Earth whole. More images followed, each one showing a different miracle and nightmare of human technology. Weapons that could manipulate time. Viruses designed to rewrite DNA. Computers that could predict the future by calculating every possible outcome. Machines that could teleport matter across vast distances. Every breakthrough brought humanity closer to godhood, Shepard Prime said, and closer to extinction. They were too clever for their own good. Too curious. Too ambitious. The images stopped. They stood on the beach again, but now Thexlar understood. Humanity had not left because they were weak. They had left because they were too strong. We were terrified of ourselves, Keeper Arcturus said quietly. We had the power to reshape the universe, but we lacked the wisdom to use it safely. So we made a choice. We would evolve beyond the need for such dangerous toys. We would leave our bodies behind and become something new. But you could not leave Earth unprotected, Shenra said, understanding dawning on her face. Exactly. We knew others would come. We knew they would see our technology and want it. So we left Guardians. The Keeper gestured and images appeared in the air. War machines, thousands of them. Each one was different, designed for a specific purpose. The Guardians are not simple robots, Keeper Arcturus explained. They are intelligent, adaptive, ruthless. They were designed to fight enemies far more advanced than humanity itself. We created them to defend Earth from any threat, foreign or domestic. Thexlar felt ice in his veins, and we activated them. Yes, the Shepherd tried to warn you. We left messages in 47 languages, including your own. But you persisted. You forced the Shepherd to wake the Guardians. Now they are active, and they have identified your fleet as a hostile force. On the tactical display Thexlar wore on his wrist, he could see red indicators spreading across Earth's surface. More and more Guardians were coming online. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Commander Thexlar, Kessier's voice crackled through his communicator. The fleet is detecting massive energy weapons targeting us from the surface. We count over 2,000 distinct targeting locks. Recommend immediate withdrawal. Hold position, Thexlar ordered, though his voice shook. Do not fire. Do not make any aggressive moves. He looked up at Keeper Arcturus. If we leave now, will the Guardians stand down? Eventually, the Keeper said. But they will remain active for years, watching the sky, waiting for your return. And if you do return, they will destroy you without warning. And if we do not leave? Thexlar asked, dreading the answer. Then we will demonstrate why humanity chose to abandon these weapons. The Keeper rose higher into the sky. It spread its arms and light exploded from its body. The light reached out across the planet, touching every Guardian, every defense system, every weapon that humanity had built, and they all came online at once. The display on Thexlar's wrist went insane. Red indicators covered the entire planet. Energy readings spiked beyond his equipment's ability to measure. The Guardians were not just active now. They were at full combat readiness. This is a small demonstration, Keeper Arcturus said. Its voice was cold now, emotionless. We have activated 20% of Earth's defensive network. That is 40,000 Guardian units. Each one is armed with weapons that can level cities. Each one operates with tactical intelligence equivalent to your best military commanders. Each one is expendable and willing to self-destruct if it means eliminating a threat. From the celestial dawn, Kesser's voice came through again, higher-pitched with panic. Commander, they are targeting us?
All ships are locked.
We cannot break the target locks. These systems are beyond anything we have encountered. Show them, Keeper Arcturus commanded. One of the energy beings descended toward the ocean far from the island. It touched the water and the sea exploded upward. A massive structure rose from the depths, water cascading off its metal surface. It was a weapons platform, the size of a small city, bristling with cannons and missile tubes and things Thexlar could not identify. "This is one Guardian complex," the keeper said. "There are 500 of them in the oceans alone. Each one contains enough firepower to destroy your entire fleet 10 times over." The weapons platform's cannons rotated, all pointing upward at the Voran ships in orbit. Energy began to build, visible as blue light gathering at each barrel. "They will not fire," Keeper Arcturus said, "unless I give the order. But make no mistake, Commander. If I wanted your fleet destroyed, it would already be debris." Thexlar fell to his knees again. This time it was not from fear, but from the weight of understanding. The collective had sent 7 ships to explore a dead world. Instead, they had found a trap designed by the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever known. "We cannot fight this," he whispered. "No one could." "That was humanity's gift to the galaxy," Keeper Arcturus said, and now its voice held sadness. "We left Earth protected by nightmares. We built weapons so terrible that no rational species would dare attack this world. We made ourselves into monsters so that our children could inherit paradise." "Why?" Shenra asked, tears streaming down her face. "Why show us all of this if you plan to destroy us anyway?" "Because," the Keeper said, its light dimming to something gentler, "we need you to understand what you stumbled into. We need you to understand why we left warnings. We need you to carry this knowledge back to your collective so they will never make this mistake again." The weapons platform began to sink back into the ocean. The targeting locks on Thexlar's display remained, but the energy readings decreased. The Guardians were powering down just slightly. "We do not want to be monsters," Keeper Arcturus said. "We left that life behind. But we will protect our children. We will protect Earth. That is our purpose. That is why we returned." High above, the other energy beings began to descend. They gathered around Keeper Arcturus like students around a teacher, or soldiers around a general. Their combined light was blinding. "We are the keepers of the cradle," they said in unison, their voices merging into one. "We are humanity's love for their home given form and purpose. We are the watchers who never sleep, the guardians who never fail. This world is our charge, our responsibility, our sacred trust. And now," Keeper Arcturus said, its voice returning to singular, "we must decide what to do with you. You have seen our power. You have seen our purpose. You have seen what we left behind. The question is simple: are you friends or enemies?" Thexlar looked at Shenra. Her skin showed white and purple, fear and awe mixed together. He thought about his crew, his fleet, the collective that had sent them here. He thought about how close they had come to disaster. "We are not your enemies," he said firmly. "We made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but we are not conquerors or destroyers. We seek only knowledge and peaceful contact." "Prove it," Keeper Arcturus challenged. "Prove that your words have meaning. Prove that the collective values life more than technology." "How?" Thexlar asked. "What must we do?" The Keeper was silent for a long moment. Around it, the other beings of light seemed to be communicating, though Thexlar could not hear their conversation. Finally, Keeper Arcturus spoke again. "We will offer you a choice," it said. "A test, if you will. Pass this test and we will know you speak truth. Fail, and you will leave the system and never return." "What is the test?" Shenra asked. The Keeper's light pulsed once. "Wait and see. But know this, the test has already begun, and your response in the next few hours will determine the fate of your species' relationship with humanity for all time." Before Thexlar could ask what that meant, the Keeper and all the other energy beings vanished. They simply winked out of existence, leaving behind only the normal stars and the sound of waves on the shore. Shepherd Prime remained. She looked at them with an expression that might have been sympathy or might have been pity. "I suggest you return to your ship," she said quietly. "The test will begin soon. And Commander, I hope you make the right choice, for all our sakes." The Avatar turned and walked into the forest, disappearing among the trees. Thexlar and Shenra were left alone on the beach under the stars, waiting for a test they did not understand. Above them, their fleet waited, surrounded by sleeping weapons, and somewhere in the vastness of space, humanity. Thexlar sat in his command chair aboard the Celestial Dawn, staring at the tactical display. 3 hours had passed since they returned from the island. 3 hours of waiting, of watching, of wondering what the test would be. The bridge crew worked quietly, speaking in whispers. Everyone felt the tension. Above and below them, the Guardians remained active. The weapons platforms tracked their every movement. One wrong action and the fleet would be destroyed, Commander. Kessler said softly. May I speak freely? Always, Thexlar replied. We should leave. We have learned what we came to learn. Earth is not abandoned. It is protected. We should return to the collective and report our findings. There is no shame in retreat. I agree, another officer added. We are explorers, not warriors. We cannot fight an entire planet. Thexlar understood their fear. He felt it too. But something held him back. Keeper Arcturus had said the test was important, that it would determine humanity's relationship with the collective forever. He could not leave without knowing what they faced. We will wait, he decided. The keeper said. Alarms screamed across the bridge. Every display lit up red. The sensor officer shouted over the noise. Commander, we are detecting a massive energy signature. It is emerging from Earth's sun. On screen, Thexlar ordered. The main view screen showed the yellow star that Earth orbited, and there, emerging from the solar fire itself, was a structure. It was enormous, dwarfing the planets around it. As it came into view, Thexlar realized what he was seeing. By all the stars, Shenra whispered. Is that a Dyson swarm? It was. Thousands of platforms surrounded the sun, each one harvesting its energy. And on those platforms, Thexlar could see cities, structures, forests even. The platforms were not just power collectors. They were habitats. This is where humanity went, he said in awe. They did not leave the solar system. They built a new home around the sun itself. The scale was beyond comprehension. Each platform was larger than Earth's moon. Together they formed a shell around the star, capturing almost all its light and heat. The energy available to such a civilization would be infinite. Commander, we are receiving a transmission, the communications officer said. It is from the Dyson swarm. They want to speak with you. Put it through. Keeper Arcturus appeared on the screen. Behind it, Thexlar could see the interior of one of the platforms. It looked like a garden with trees and flowers and flowing water, but there were also structures of pure light, impossible geometries that hurt to look at. Welcome to humanity's true home, the keeper said. This is where we live now. Between flesh and energy, between matter and thought, we built this sanctuary after we left Earth. Here we have everything we need. Power, space, peace. It is magnificent, Thexlar said honestly. It is prison and paradise both. Keeper Arcturus replied. We are safe here, but we can never truly go home. Earth is for our children, not for us. We are too dangerous, too powerful. We would destroy what we love by simply existing near it. Why show us this? Shenra asked. Because your test has arrived. The keeper's expression became serious. 3 hours ago, we sent a message to your collective. We told them everything that happened here. We told them about Earth, about the Guardians, about our children in the Genesis vaults. Thexlar felt his blood run cold. What else did you tell them? We told them about our technology, about the Dyson swarm, about our power. We invited them to send more ships. We offered to share knowledge with them. That makes no sense, Kessler said. Why would you do that after warning us away? Because, Keeper Arcturus said, we need to know who you truly are. Your collective has two choices. They can send warships and scientists to claim what they believe is theirs by right of discovery, or they can send diplomats and learners to build a relationship based on mutual respect. The test. Now Thexlar understood. Humanity was testing the collective's character. Would they respond with greed or with wisdom? How long until we know their answer? He asked. Your communication systems are faster than ours were, the keeper said. Messages travel at significant fractions of light speed. Your homeworld is 40 light years away. Accounting for relay stations and signal boosting, I estimate you will receive their response in approximately 2 hours. 2 hours. That was all the time they had. 2 hours to learn if the collective would make the right choice or doom themselves to eternal conflict with humanity. What happens if they send warships? Thexlar asked quietly. Keeper Arcturus was silent for a long moment. Then we will demonstrate the full extent of our power. We will show them why humanity chose to lock away their greatest weapons, and we will make certain they never threaten Earth again. The screen went dark. Thexlar sat back in his chair, his mind racing. He knew the collective's counsel. He knew how they thought. They were not warriors, but they were also not fools. When faced with a powerful new species and access to incredible technology, what would they choose? Sir, Shenra said, I need to speak with you privately. They went to his ready room, a small office beside the bridge. Shenra paced back and forth, her skin showing rapid color changes. She was deeply disturbed. "We need to send our own message," she said urgently. "We need to tell the collective what we have seen. We need to warn them not to send warships. Our communications cannot reach them faster than humanity's message," Thexlar pointed out. "Even if we send a warning now, it will not arrive before they make their decision. Then we have failed." Shenra stopped pacing and looked at him. "I know the Council, Commander. I know what they will do. They will see this as an opportunity. They will send an armada. They will think that with superior numbers, they can negotiate from a position of strength. They do not understand what they face," Thexlar agreed. "They do not know that humanity can destroy stars if they choose to." "Can they?" Shenra asked. "Destroy stars?" Thexlar thought about the Dyson swarm, about beings made of pure energy, about technology that defied the laws of physics as he understood them. "Yes," he said. "I believe they can. I believe humanity holds back because they choose to, not because they must." They returned to the bridge. The crew continued their work, but Thexlar could see the fear in their movements. They all understood the situation. They were trapped between two choices, neither of them good. An hour passed. Then another. The tension grew unbearable. Thexlar found himself watching the chronometer obsessively, counting down the minutes until they would know their fate. "Commander," the communications officer said suddenly, "we are receiving a transmission from Collective Command. It is marked urgent and highest priority." "Put it through," Thexlar said, though his hearts were pounding. The screen showed the council chambers of the Voron Collective. 7 leaders sat in a semicircle, representing the 7 species that made up their civilization. First speaker Ventar, a dignified Voran with skin that showed silver patterns of wisdom, spoke for them all. "Commander Thexlar, we have received an extraordinary message from the beings claiming to be ascended humanity. We have analyzed it carefully. We have debated its contents. And we have made our decision." Thexlar held his breath. Everything depended on the next words. "We are sending ships to Earth," First Speaker Ventar said. "No." Thexlar felt his world collapse. They had chosen wrong. The collective had chosen greed over wisdom, but then the first speaker continued. "We are sending 7 diplomatic vessels, 1 for each species of the collective. They carry no weapons. They bring gifts of art, music, and knowledge from our cultures. We come not as conquerors, but as students, hoping to learn from a species that has achieved what we can only dream of." Relief flooded through Thexlar so powerfully that he nearly collapsed. They had chosen correctly. The collective had passed the test. However, First Speaker Ventar said, and his expression became stern, "We also send a message to humanity. You tested us without asking our permission. You gambled with the lives of Commander Thexlar and his crew. This was not the action of friends. We hope that in the future our species can build trust without such tests." The transmission ended. Thexlar looked around his bridge. Every officer was smiling, their skin showing colors of joy and relief. They would live. The collective would live. Humanity had tested them, and they had passed. "Commander, another transmission," the communications officer said. "It is from the Dyson swarm." Keeper Arcturus appeared again. This time it was smiling. "You have passed our test. Your collective chose wisdom over power, peace over conflict. This gives us hope." "You risked a war," Thexlar said, and he could not keep the anger from his voice. "You gambled with millions of lives. What if the collective had chosen differently?" "Then we would have learned what we needed to know," Keeper Arcturus said calmly. "We would have known that your species was not ready for contact with us. We would have ensured they could never threaten Earth, and then we would have waited another 1,000 years for a better neighbor." "You would have destroyed them," Thexlar said. "No," the Keeper replied. "We would have frightened them. We would have shown them enough power that they would choose to never return. We do not wish to be destroyers. We left that life behind, but we will protect what is ours." Shenra stepped forward. The first speaker was correct. This was not the action of friends. "You tested us like children." "Perhaps," Keeper Arcturus admitted. "But would you have preferred we pretended friendship while wondering if you would one day return with an armada? Better to know the truth now. Better to establish honest relations from the beginning." Thexlar had to admit the logic was sound even if he disliked the method. Humanity had tested them, yes, but they had also given them a choice. That was more than most powerful species would do. What happens now? He asked. Now we wait for your diplomatic vessels to arrive. And while we wait, I would like to invite you and your crew to visit Earth properly, not as thieves in the night, but as honored guests. Let us show you what humanity built. Let us share our story with you. Let us begin this relationship correctly. We would be honored, Thexlar said. Over the next 3 days, the Voran fleet became humanity's students. Keeper Arcturus and the Shepherd showed them everything. They walked through the Genesis vaults looking at the sleeping children who would inherit Earth. They swam in oceans tended by sentient whales. They explored forests where trees sang and animals danced. They learned about humanity's history from caves to cities to stars. They learned about art and music and literature. They learned about human philosophy, about their endless questions and their search for meaning. And they learned about humanity's greatest achievement, the choice to leave. The choice to recognize their own danger and remove it. The choice to put the future of their world above their own desires. We were not saints, Keeper Arcturus explained as they stood atop a mountain in what had once been called Tibet. We fought terrible wars. We caused mass extinctions. We poisoned our own world multiple times. But we learned, we grew. We changed. How? Shinra asked. How does a species overcome its own nature? By deciding that nature is not destiny, the Keeper said. By choosing to be better than what we were born to be. That is the gift we hope to share with you. Not technology or weapons or power, but the knowledge that change is possible. Thexlar looked out across the pristine landscape. Somewhere down there in hidden facilities, guardian machines waited in silence. Humanity's terrible weapons, ready to wake if needed, but sleeping peacefully while they were not. You built weapons that could destroy worlds, he said. But you also built gardens. Which is the real humanity? Both, Keeper Arcturus replied. We are our worst and our best, our violence and our peace, our hate and our love. We are contradictions, and we learned to accept that. We learned that being dangerous does not mean being evil. It means being responsible. On the 7th day, the diplomatic vessels arrived. 7 ships, unarmed and broadcasting messages of peace, entered Earth's orbit. The collective had sent its finest diplomats, its greatest artists, its wisest teachers. Humanity welcomed them with light and song. The Keepers descended from their Dyson swarm in the thousands, beings of pure energy dancing through space like auroras. The Guardians on Earth's surface activated but did not threaten. They stood like honor guards, acknowledging the guests. Thexlar watched from the celestial dawn as history was made. 2 species, meeting properly for the first time, not as conquerors and conquered, not as thieves and guardians, but as equals. As friends, Commander, Kessir said quietly. I have been thinking about what humanity did. Leaving Earth, building the Dyson swarm, testing us. It all seems so extreme. Was it necessary? Thexlar thought about the question carefully. I think, he said slowly, that humanity looks at themselves and sees monsters. They see what they could become if they stopped trying to be good. So they put safeguards in place. They made it hard for themselves to do wrong. By leaving their home, Kessir said. By punishing themselves. Or by saving us, Thexlar replied. If humanity had stayed on Earth, if they had kept developing weapons and power, what would they have become? What would they have done to the galaxy? Maybe this is mercy. Maybe they left to protect us from them. Below them, Earth spun peacefully. Paradise regained. A world waiting for children who would never have to make the terrible choices their parents had made. And around the sun, in their swarm of platforms, humanity watched their cradle and smiled. The diplomatic summit took place on an island that humanity had specially prepared. It appeared from the ocean in a single night, rising up on pillars of metal and stone. On its surface, buildings grew like flowers, constructed by nanomachines that shaped matter according to human designs. They are showing off, Kessir observed as the Voran delegation's shuttle approached the island. Yes, Thexlar agreed, but they are also showing trust. They are demonstrating their power while inviting us to stand beside them. It is a message. We could destroy you, but we would rather build with you. The shuttle landed on a platform of white stone. As Thexlar stepped out, he was greeted by an extraordinary sight. Keeper Arcturus stood in physical form or something like it. The being had created a body for itself out of light and energy, shaped roughly like a human, but clearly not bound by the same limitations as flesh. Beside it stood Shepherd Prime, her synthetic face showing a genuine smile, and around them, Other keepers had taken form as well, each one unique, each one glowing with barely contained power. "Welcome," Keeper Arcturus said. "We are honored by your presence. Please come. We have much to discuss." The summit hall was a marvel of architecture. The ceiling showed the stars in real time as if the roof did not exist. The walls displayed scenes from human history and Voran history side by side, showing the parallel development of both species. The floor was polished crystal that felt solid under their feet, but showed the ocean flowing beneath. Representatives from all 7 collective species gathered around a circular table. On the other side, the keepers took their places. Between them, Shepherd Prime sat as mediator, neither fully human nor fully machine, bridging both worlds. First Speaker Ventar spoke first. "We come in peace, seeking understanding. Humanity's message reached us and surprised us greatly. We thought Earth was dead. We thought you had vanished. Instead, we find you have evolved beyond our comprehension. We apologize for the deception," Keeper Arcturus said. "We left warnings, but we understand they were vague. We could have been clearer, but we needed to know who would come to our world and what they would do when they found it seemingly abandoned." "You tested us," Venator said. "It was not a question. We did. And we apologize for that as well. But you must understand our position. We are powerful, perhaps too powerful. We have the ability to reshape reality itself. If we were to share this power carelessly, we could doom the galaxy. We needed to know if your species valued life and peace over technology and power." A representative from the Krell species, a being with scaled skin and multiple arms, spoke up. "And if we had failed your test? If we had sent warships? We would have driven you away," Keeper Arcturus said honestly. "We would have demonstrated enough power to ensure you never returned. But we would not have destroyed you. We are not executioners. We are guardians." "Yet you built terrible weapons," the Krell said, gesturing toward the displays that showed the Guardian machines. "Weapons designed to destroy, not protect." "Yes," another keeper spoke up. This one called itself Keeper Solara. Its voice was softer, sadder. "We built nightmares. We built things that kept us awake with fear and guilt. That is why we left. That is why we ascended. We could not trust ourselves with such power while we remained vulnerable to anger, fear, and hate." Shenra leaned forward. "But you still have those weapons. The Guardians still exist. You did not destroy them." "Because we learned something important," Keeper Arcturus explained. "Destroying weapons does not eliminate the knowledge of how to make them. The science still exists, the formulas, the designs, the theories. Anyone with sufficient intelligence could recreate what we built. So instead we locked them away. We put them under the control of the Shepherd, who cannot lie, cannot be corrupted, cannot be swayed by emotion. And we made Earth into a fortress, not to threaten others, but to ensure our children would be safe." "Your children in the Genesis vaults," Thexlar said. "When will they wake?" "In 500 years, Shepherd Prime answered. "They grow slowly, developing in ways that natural humans never could. When they wake, they will be ready for Earth. They will be caretakers, not conquerors. They will have humanity's creativity and compassion, but without our capacity for self-destruction." "You are creating a new species," Ventar observed. "We are giving humanity a second chance," Keeper Solara said. "A chance to be born into paradise instead of climbing out of caves. A chance to grow up knowing peace instead of war. A chance to do better than we did." The summit continued for hours. They discussed technology, philosophy, culture. The keepers shared some knowledge freely. Medical advances that could cure diseases, agricultural techniques that could feed billions, methods of clean energy generation. But they held back the dangerous knowledge, the weapons and tools that could be misused. "We will not give you the keys to destruction," Keeper Arcturus said firmly, "but we will help you build better worlds. We will teach you what we learned through centuries of mistakes. We will be mentors if you will accept us as such." "And what do you want in return?" asked a representative from the Ixian consensus, a species known for their sharp business sense. "Your friendship," Keeper Arcturus said simply. "Your protection of Earth during our absence. Your promise to teach your children about us, so that when our new generation wakes, they will not be alone in the universe." The Ixian representative seemed surprised. "That is all? You offer us advanced knowledge in exchange for friendship?" "Knowledge without wisdom leads to destruction," Keeper Solara said. "We offer you wisdom. We hope you will accept it and use it to build rather than destroy." Ventar looked at his fellow representatives. They communicated silently, using the subtle color changes and body language that came naturally to their species. Finally, he turned back to the keepers. We accept your offer. We will be friends to humanity. We will protect Earth. And we have a proposal of our own. We are listening, Keeper Arcturus said. You tested us, Ventar continued. You needed to know our character. That is fair. But we also need to know you better. We propose a cultural exchange. Let some of your keepers live among our people. Let us send some of our people to live here, to learn from the shepherd, to understand Earth's ecosystem. Let us build trust through shared experience. The keepers conferred among themselves, their light bodies pulsing with colors that might have been their own form of communication. Finally, Keeper Arcturus nodded. We accept. This is wise. Trust cannot be built in a day or a year. It must grow naturally. There is more, Ventar said. Commander Thexlar and his crew were the first to make contact with humanity. They made mistakes, yes, but they also showed courage and wisdom. We propose that they remain here as the first ambassadors of the collective. They will live on Earth, learn from the shepherd, and report back to us. They will be the bridge between our species. Thexlar felt his heart jump. Live on Earth? Stay in this paradise? He looked at his crew. Kesser smiled, her skin showing bright yellow patterns of joy. Shenra nodded eagerly. The others showed similar enthusiasm. I accept, Thexlar said, if humanity will have us. We would be honored, Keeper Arcturus said. You will be the first aliens to call Earth home since humanity left. You will learn our history, explore our world, and when the children wake, you will help them understand that they are not alone. The summit concluded with an agreement. The collective would establish a permanent presence in Earth's solar system, a small station orbiting Jupiter where ambassadors could live and work. In exchange, humanity would send 3 keepers to each of the collective's 7 homeworlds, where they would teach and learn and build relationships. The guardians would remain active but dormant, watching but not threatening. The shepherd would maintain Earth's ecosystem and prepare for the children's awakening. And the Voran crew of the Celestial Dawn would become the first alien residents of Earth. 3 months later, Thexlar stood in what had once been called the Amazon rainforest. The trees were massive, their canopy so thick that little sunlight reached the ground. But the forest was not dark. Bioluminescent plants glowed in the shadows, painting the jungle in blues and greens and purples. Beside him, Shenra recorded everything with her scanner. She had taken to Earth with enthusiasm, studying the ecosystem with the passion of a scientist who had found her life's work. Look at this, she said, pointing to a tree. The bark produces a chemical that repels insects but attracts pollinators. And the roots connect to other trees, sharing nutrients across the forest. The whole ecosystem is interconnected, balanced perfectly. Humanity's design, Thexlar said. Yes, but also more than that. They did not just engineer isolated species. They created relationships, dependencies, harmonies. They thought about the whole picture. Shenra looked at him. This is what we almost destroyed. When we tried to break into the Genesis vaults, we could have disrupted the entire system. The Guardians would have fought us. The ecosystem would have been damaged. All of this could have been lost. Thexlar felt the weight of that realization. They had been so focused on salvaging technology that they had not considered the consequences. They had treated Earth like a dead ruin instead of a living trust. We were wrong, he said simply. But we learned, Shenra replied. That is what matters. We made mistakes, but we learned from them. They walked deeper into the forest. As they moved, animals watched from the trees. These were not simple beasts. The shepherd had enhanced many of Earth's creatures, giving them greater intelligence and longer lives. They were caretakers in their own right, tending the forests and maintaining the balance. A large cat emerged from the undergrowth. It was similar to what humans had called a jaguar, but larger and clearly more intelligent. Its eyes showed understanding, awareness. It looked at Thexlar and Shenra, decided they were not threats, and continued on its way. They accept us, Shenra said quietly. The animals, the plants, even the machines. They have accepted us as part of Earth. Because the shepherd told them to, Thexlar said. No, Shepherd Prime's voice said. She emerged from behind a tree, her synthetic body moving silently through the jungle. Because they chose to. I explained who you are and what you did. I told them you made mistakes but learned from them. They decided, on their own, that you deserved a chance. Can they really decide that? Thexler asked. They are animals. They are more than animals now, Shepherd Prime explained. Humanity did not just enhance their bodies. They enhanced their minds. These creatures can think, plan, communicate. They have simple societies, simple languages. In time, they might develop civilizations of their own. Another gift, Shenra said in wonder. Humanity left behind not just children, but an entire world of potential new sapient species. We wanted Earth to thrive, Shepherd Prime said. We wanted it to be alive, not just preserved. We gave intelligence to many species, but we limited it. They are smart enough to care for themselves and their world, but not so smart that they will develop dangerous technology. They will live in balance with nature forever. They continued walking. Shepherd Prime led them to a clearing where a stream flowed over smooth rocks. The water was so clear that Thexlar could see fish swimming below, each one glowing with subtle colors. I come here often, Shepherd Prime said. This is where I think. This is where I remember. Remember what? Thexlar asked. Being human. She sat on a rock, her synthetic body mimicking human posture perfectly. I am not truly alive. I'm a collection of memories and programs. But the humans who gave me those memories were alive. They felt joy and sadness, love and fear. They lived full lives before they uploaded themselves to create me. Do you miss it? Shenra asked. Being fully alive? Every day, Shepherd Prime said softly. But I have a purpose. I protect this world. I tend these gardens. I wait for the children to wake. That is enough. That has to be enough. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the stream and the sounds of the forest. Finally, Thexlar spoke. When the children wake, what will you tell them about us? Shepherd Prime smiled. I will tell them the truth. I will tell them that aliens came to Earth looking for treasure. I will tell them that they made mistakes but learned from them. I will tell them that your species chose friendship over fear. And I will tell them that you stayed here on Earth for 500 years waiting to meet them. 500 years, Thexlar repeated. He would not live that long. None of his crew would. But their children would. And their grandchildren. The collective would maintain the embassy on Earth across generations, a continuous presence spanning centuries. You are giving us a gift, he said to Shepherd Prime. You are letting us be part of this story. You are giving us a gift as well, she replied. You are ensuring that when the children wake, they will not be alone. They will have friends waiting for them, teachers who can show them the galaxy beyond Earth. That is more valuable than you know. High above, invisible to the naked eye, the keepers watched from their Dyson swarm. They saw Thexlar and his crew settling into their new home. They saw the diplomatic ships coming and going, building relationships between humanity and the collective. They saw the future taking shape. In their platforms around the sun, they discussed what they had accomplished. They had tested an alien species and found them worthy. They had shared knowledge without sharing danger. They had made friends instead of enemies. It was a small victory, but an important one. The galaxy was vast, and humanity would encounter many species in the centuries to come. Some would be peaceful, like the collective. Others might not be. But now they knew that friendship was possible. Now they knew that other species could learn, could grow, could choose wisdom over power. We did well, Keeper Arcturus said to the assembled consciousness. We protected our children and made allies at the same time. But we must remain vigilant, Keeper Solara reminded them. The Guardians must stay active. The Shepherd must remain watchful. We cannot assume all species will be as reasonable as the collective. Agreed, the other keepers said in unison. They returned their attention to their own projects, their own studies and creations, but part of their consciousness always remained focused on Earth, on the blue world that had birthed them. They would watch over it forever, distant parents watching their children grow. On Earth, Thexlar returned to the small settlement that the collective had built near the equator. It was humble compared to their starships, just a few dozen buildings and a landing pad. But it was home now. Kesser greeted him with a report. More ships had arrived, bringing supplies and new personnel, scientists who wanted to study Earth's ecosystem, artists who wanted to paint its beauty, teachers who wanted to learn from the Shepherd. We are growing, Kesser said. In another year we will have a proper colony here. Not to exploit Earth, but to learn from it. Good, Thexlar said. That is as it should be. That night he stood outside under the stars. He could see the Dyson swarm now, a faint shell of light around the sun. Humanity's new home, built from their own ingenuity and powered by the star that had warmed their original world. He thought about the journey that had brought him here, the curiosity that had driven him to explore, the mistakes he had made, the lessons he had learned, the friendship he had found. Humanity had left Earth, but they had not abandoned it. They had prepared it, protected it, ensured it would thrive. And in doing so, they had taught the collective something invaluable, that power without wisdom was useless, that strength without compassion was hollow, that technology without ethics was dangerous. The collective would be better for knowing humanity. They would build better worlds, make better choices, avoid the pitfalls that had almost destroyed the humans. They would look at Earth and remember that paradise was possible, but only if you were willing to sacrifice for it. In the Genesis vaults, the children slept peacefully, growing slowly toward their awakening. They did not know that their world was protected by ancient weapons and patient guardians. They did not know that aliens walked their forests and swam their oceans. They did not know that their distant parents watched from a shell around the sun, but they would learn. In 500 years, they would wake to a world more beautiful than any their ancestors had known. They would inherit paradise, and they would have friends waiting to greet them, friends who had learned to value peace over power, wisdom over weapons, life over technology. Thexler smiled at the stars. He would not live to see the children wake, but his descendants would. They would tell the children about the collective, about the species who had come to Earth seeking treasure and found something better, purpose. "Welcome home," he whispered to the sleeping children, though they could not hear him. "Welcome home. We will be here when you wake. We will help you understand this wonderful, terrible galaxy. We will be your friends." The wind carried his words away, across the forests and oceans, across the gardens that humanity had built. And somewhere deep in the planetary network, the shepherd heard and smiled. The vigil would continue. The guardians would wait. The children would grow. And when they finally opened their eyes to see Earth for the first time, they would find it exactly as their parents had promised, a paradise protected and perfect, waiting for them. Humanity's greatest gift was not their technology or their weapons or their power. It was their hope. Hope that the future could be better than the past. Hope that their children would make better choices than they had. Hope that the universe could be a place of peace and wonder instead of war and fear. That hope had saved them. That hope had driven them to leave their world and trust it to guardians and strangers. That hope had led them to ascend, to evolve, to become something new. And now that hope lived on Earth, in sleeping children and patient machines, in alien ambassadors and distant parents. It lived in the forests and oceans, in the animals and plants, in every atom of the paradise that humanity had built. The story was not over. It was only beginning, and it would be a story worth telling, a story of species learning to live together, of mistakes overcome and friendships forged, of a world protected and cherished across centuries. Earth spun peacefully under the stars, and humanity, transformed and transcendent, watched over their cradle with love. The vigil had no end. The hope had no limits. The future had no boundaries. And in 500 years, when the children woke, they would add their own chapter to this story. They would carry humanity forward in ways their parents could not predict. They would make their own mistakes and their own triumphs. They would write their own legacy, but they would not write it alone. The collective would be there. The keepers would be watching. The shepherd would be guiding. And the guardians would be waiting, silent and strong, ready to protect paradise one more time if needed. This was humanity's final gift to the galaxy, the knowledge that redemption was possible, that change was achievable, that even the most dangerous species could choose to be better. And the galaxy was listening.